Well, now that we have 15 seconds remaining until the stream starts, I'm going to say this is the new character showcase. We've already seen gameplay of them. We're going to get an in-depth development update about them, of how they created them and design and all that other stuff for it.
Hey everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Overwatch 2 Developer Deep Dive August edition. Today, I am here with some pretty cool folks to talk about some pretty cool things. Firstly, I am Anna. Sorry, I think I tapped the mic. I'm Anna, and with me, I got Alec and Scott.
Hello.
Hey everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Great, yeah,
We're
excited
good.
to talk about some stuff today.
Some stuff, yeah.
Some exciting
stuff.
So it's become a bit of a tradition, I suppose, on the couple of streams that we've done already, to start off with a pretty simple and casual question that I hope doesn't take you guys by surprise, but I know it will.
It probably will, yeah.
Are you ready?
I don't know if we practiced
I
this
don't know.
part.
This was not practiced.
Don't worry, it's not very hard. So on the last stream that you were here, Alec, you talked about the games that you have been playing recently.
Yeah.
So now I'm curious, what do you guys get up to when you're not playing or working on games?
Oh God, I love watching TV actually. So recently Scott got me into a show.
Yeah.
Devil's Plan. So it's like
Breaking
a
the
game
ice
show,
so
game
far.
shows. I've been watching that. I'm almost done. Don't spoil it, please.
No spoilers.
I'll spoil it later.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
What do you get up to, Scott?
I've been getting really into music lately. I've been doing, doing a little bit of traveling, going to some music festivals, really enjoying live music. So that's what I've been doing in my spare time, and playing a lot of video games. So.
Nice, yeah,
as usual,
yeah.
of course.
Obviously, I think at one point you just can't do anything else.
Yeah.
Well, let's start talking about what we're going to be talking about. So today we have two main big topics to discuss. We are going to be talking about our newest support hero coming to Season 18, Wuyang, Hero 44, very cool
Wuyang.
guy.
Not
Actually,
Wuyang.
his hero trial starts in about 49 minutes.
Wow.
So be sure to check him out when he's out.
So basically,
And
right
our
after this
second
live stream, he's going to
theme,
be
actually of today
available.
are perks, all new perks,
Oh,
reworks,
yes.
and new
New
stuff
perks.
coming to Season 18.
I'm so
That
glad they're
we'll
going to
be
go deep
discussing
dive into
some of
that.
them, not all, because there's a lot to cover.
Wow.
But hopefully we can get through some really interesting stuff during the stream today.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing like a little polling to see, between two heroes, which one you want to see.
Yeah.
So that's how we're gonna be revealing some of the perks later on.
So choose wisely.
Choose
The
wisely.
votes matter.
Scott will kind of like try to tell you which one to pick.
Yeah, I'll give you a hint.
Okay. Interactions.
Well, we'll try to rig the votes, but choose with your heart.
Rig the votes.
Choose with your heart and decide. It's up to you.
Yeah, just like how they rigged the map
yeah,
voting.
I think we can just dive straight into the first topic. So for Wuyang, he's one of our newest heroes in the roster, and we have seen these past
Obviously,
couple days,
very
people are
heavily
curious
inspired
about
by
how
Avatar:
we're
The
going
Last
to be,
Airbender. You cannot deny
working
that.
on and developing the oddballs of our roster. Do you want to
Yeah, there was one thing we wanted to touch on before we get into Wuyang and everything about his kit. So the Overwatch roster is comprised of soldiers, scientists, adventurers, and
This is
oddities.
not magic.
Heroes like Winston and Bastion are really important to our universe. They are what makes Overwatch Overwatch. They're the special sauce that makes our universe
The
unique.
lore, the character
And
design.
when looking at the heroes currently
diving into them.
in development, there is an oddity. We're not going to be talking about that today, but stay tuned in the coming months, and I can't wait to talk about some of those heroes coming up.
Yeah, we love our little weirdos, our little cuties as much as everybody else. We are very, very invested in all the characters coming up, and as time goes on, we are very excited to talk about everything that is coming in the future seasons.
Yeah, but let's talk about Wuyang today.
Today we're
we're very
talking
close
about Wuyang.
to his hero trial, and we're going to be going through the kit, and then we're going to actually, after we go through the kit sort of explainer, talk about like how some of the abilities work, some of the tips and tricks. We're also going to get into some of the prototype footage, or like how we developed this hero and some abilities that we were left on the cutting floor, right?
Yeah.
So there's some like behind the scenes stuff that we think is really exciting for y'all to see.
Yeah.
And I think they
it's
already
very exciting,
mentioned
honestly,
some of the
today
stuff
with
that
Wuyang,
was
'cause this is usually not something we show very often. But
not
his kit
gonna
is so
use, and they
interesting
were in
and
development.
unique, something
Like
very
him
different
standing
from
on top of
everything
his
that we've shown
staff.
before. Seeing him evolve from the very beginning to what he is now is just very cool. So I think we can just jump
At least
straight
I
in
saw
and see
some
what he's got
posts on
in-
Twitter
in
about
game.
that.
Yeah, so we're going to be stepping through,
Here's
each of the
everything.
abilities.
Here's
But
everything.
here's the snapshot of all of his abilities.
And we have already seen this. They already
in this
posted
perks at the
officially.
bottom there. But what we were going for when developing Wuyang was really a more damage-oriented support. That was at least where we started, and you'll kind of see that through some of the development stories that are going to be occurring today. And where we ended up was slightly damage-focused support in the sense of like where you're spending a lot of your time. you know, supports still have means to heal their allies and means to keep them up, or you know, give them special utility, things of that nature. But Wuyang in particular, what he centers around is going to be his primary fire.
Yeah.
That's going to be the thing that you're going to be spending the most time doing.
Is that,
and also
a little
the most
orb, or
time
is that the healing
mastering.
thing?
You know, I think we showed the gameplay trailer yesterday, and there's some theories about how this thing actually works. Like, I kind of want to dive in and just, you know, show you exactly how this primary fire works.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, sweet. Let's
Yeah,
see.
I think the kit overall with like Wuyang in general is like the primary fire is that crux of it, and the rest of the abilities really support his ability on the battlefield to do other things, right? Like I would say the primary fire is where you're going to be spending most of your time, most of your energy, but you know you're reacting with with the wave, pushing
it doesn't look-
enemies
I mean,
away,
I
helping
think
allies.
if you watch
passive
Avatar: The Last
healing of
Airbender,
the restorative
right?
stream.
It
That's
looks like
kind
magic.
of like Zenyatta, but you have a different
Because
thing,
they're
which
doing
is just putting more
abilities
healing in
without
if you're going to hold it
actual
down
tools.
on allies. So I think
Now,
that's really where
he
you
has
get
a
to start
staff
to see, like,
that literally has
okay,
water
I'm using my
attached to
primary
it.
fire, but when I need it, I have all these
So
other tools
he can
Absolutely.
easily
I'm
control
very
the
curious to see
water
how players,
through the staff.
you know, start playing him.
And there's
he
probably
has
some
a
lore
lot of
connected
really
to it.
interesting and very unique abilities that I think, especially his primary fire, is a huge highlight, at least for me.
Yeah, let's
And-
get going.
Yeah.
Let's bring it up.
Yeah.
Let's see how it kind of like develops here. So there's two versions of his primary fire. There's one you're going to be doing most of the time, but let's start with the tap fire here. So he does have this tap fire option. You can just tap fire. This is like sort of, hey, someone's
Okay.
really close to you. You can kind of, this actually deals out pretty good DPS, but it's a little hard to hit and not like super fast.
And they showed
everything.
that one like
But the
homing.
main thing you're going to be spending most of the time doing on Wuyang is this primary fire where you actually control it. So you hold down primary fire, and then you
Okay.
can move that orb as long as you're holding down the button and moving your mouse, right? So you can actually control
So
that.
it doesn't
as soon as
actually
it comes out.
home,
You'll see
it
there's
just-
a little state here where it
it just
becomes
goes
empowered. It
where
kind of
you're
glows
aiming
up
at.
and actually deals more damage at that point in time. And some of the plays you can do here, like I think K right here, you can actually you can like be hiding behind a wall.
Okay,
curve it.
like Junkrat.
I think one of the spots I love to do this
I like
on
that.
is like Lee John, where
yeah.
there's the bridge. You can like just kind of actually sit almost 90 degrees, curve the orb around, and just kind of fire down that bridge as people are trying to enter into the. through the
That's
choke.
nice.
But you can do some really wide swings with it. You can even hit some aerial targets.
And it
So
looks
you
like
can
it does
kinda
like
see it's like,
75
oh, yeah,
damage.
that's-
I don't think he
it's
can
actually something
headshot
that takes a lot
either.
of time though and precision to practice and get down.
But once you do get it down, like that's where the fun of it really starts to exist, because like, you're able to hide behind these walls, you're able to curve it, you're able to chase running away enemies, right?
Now,
like
how does-
sometimes, leading can be difficult. You're actually able to
You
change
see
it
how his
mid-flight
fingers
as
are
the
like
enemies move as
controlling
well.
the water.
Which
I do
which
find
makes
that
it really
interesting
fun.
with, like, the magic
the
that
thing
they
that
say
I
that's
find
not
really
in the
interesting as
game.
well is that like you can also hold it down, but if you let go towards the end, it'll just keep moving the direction that it was, and you can fire another one. So you can really start
Oh,
like throwing
so you
lots
can
of these
stack
water
them
balls
up.
towards enemies, and that's where the chunk of your damage is. You can see once it's empowered,
so
it's
you
doing
can,
a
like,
big chunk of damage.
control
does a little
one
bit of
and then
AoE
do, like,
damage
a
as well. So
a
there's a lot to be
small
done,
one,
and a lot of damage to be
fast
done
fire
when you
and
have
be
that
able to hit
precision with it,
two
too.
Yeah,
pretty
totally. So
rapidly.
how it's a pretty different thing being able to control a projectile while you're also moving, independently from the projectile. Was it like challenging to find a good balance of your character is moving and the projectile is moving on its own?
Yeah, there was a definitely
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of things
because
we had
it's
to work
you
through
have
in
to
terms
move
of,
your
like, perception and
character and
understanding
move
where
the
orb was
projectile at the
certain
same
times.
time, so they're both
There's different
independent
iterations that we'll
from
get
each
into a bit
other.
later. But one of the
That could be
main
pretty
things with an
tricky.
ability like this that's important for us is that you understand where it's going, but also enemies have a really good expectation of where it's coming.
Right, it's very it's slow moving enough that
right?
you should be
so
able to predict
how
it.
fast you can
'Cause
actually
the,
turn it, speed that the projectiles actually
I
traveling
think the
at.
torpedoes
Those are
by,
really important knobs for us to get into the right place where it feels fair.
Juno
because
might
this thing
be
can kind of,
faster,
can
so
come
this
over
is
the
a
right
little
heart
slower.
barrier and then like
Just
kind of
go
come
down,
like
yeah.
you thinking you might be safe, and it's like whoop whoop, and then kind of hits you. So there's a
'cause you
lot
can-
of little things we had to do.
you can be
in terms of
coming
the sound
close and then you
feeling
go,
like,
I didn't even think
okay,
about
I know
that
this
either.
thing
Yeah,
is
you can-
coming in as this like explosive water orb.
Yeah, and it's
pretty
it
cool.
really is just like the crux of the ability of like how you're doing everything here, right? Like you're going to be positioning everywhere that you stand is going to be based on your primary fire. You want to be in this like nice little mid-range because it is difficult to track targets at extreme lengths, but also
Yeah.
very close to you as well because you have control, but there is that turning distance as
Yeah.
well. So it's about
Yeah.
like this is how you're going to move around the battlefield. This is how you're going to play and put yourself in the
And they
best
had to give
position
it
to make
splash,
easy as
one,
possible.
because it's water.
So you would say that Wuyang is
Logically,
more
that
of
makes
a,
sense.
like a
Two,
mid
because of it
to
being such a small
long-ish
projectile, style
range support?
and it's
Yeah,
controllable like
100%.
that.
Honestly, I've seen
At
so
least
many
it
different
would be
playstyles
like-
and our
Yeah.
play
I don't-
tests and stuff
I don't
like
know
that
if there's
as well.
like a
You can
direct
get really
hit
close
factor with this,
with him
and
as
no
well.
matter
When
what
you
it's
start to
gonna
see some
do.
of the other abilities, especially the ultimate, you have
a
a lot
certain
of
amount of damage,
tools at your
and
disposal
then
to be able to sort of
the
move around
splash
the
obviously
battlefield
is gonna hit
quickly
other people.
if you need to. But where you're
Especially
going
with
to
how
be
hard it
spending
is
your
to
time
control.
is
I think logically that makes sense, but
Yeah, and
They might
as I
have
was
an
saying
impact
earlier, the
damage
rest of
versus
the
a
kit really
non-impact
supports
damage.
being in this state a lot. So we can start actually going into restorative stream here. This is going to be a secondary fire, and the main source of his healing. So when you just click it, it's actually going to add a passive ring onto an ally, right? So this is going to be pretty light HPS.
Okay.
I think it's like 35 healing
There's a
percent.
little bit
Yeah,
35
So it's a little
per
bit less than
second?
Zenyatta actually.
less than
Um,
Zenyatta. Wow.
But the thing that you can do here with this, so it's like, okay, a lot of my healing's gonna be there, but you can actually empower it by holding down right click and only spending a resource. So, there's sort of this like hybrid style of healing where, yes, I can put this passive thing on to an ally. I don't have to worry too much. I can actually just focus on using my primary fire. But then
So
when they
it's,
do get in trouble, I
It's a
can use my
mixture of
resource to try
Zenyatta
to
and
heal them
Alari.
back up.
Yeah, and this resource does a lot of healing, and it drains pretty quickly, and it returns up quite slowly. So it's not something that you should be using, all the time. When you compare it to like a Lari, that charges very quickly back up.
Yeah.
This is something that you need to be careful with your resource, right? You are limited in the amount of healing that you can do.
So
it's
you
about
would-
putting your restorative
You
stream
would
on the
think
right
that
target,
that would
and then
be
when they get low, when
healing
they get
more
in
than
danger,
Zenyatta
that's when you
then,
can
right?
start pumping
Because
resource
Yeah,
out.
Katie, can we actually bring up the F1 screen, so the hero info panel? We can actually just make sure we get the numbers correct here. But you can like actually hover over restorative stream, and it will actually show us.
oh,
like,
this is
yeah.
the new thing that they
Wow.
show.
So it's 25%.
Yes.
On the
Shout
healing-
out
on the
Gavin
healing.
Winter.
We were
But
getting
then
this
the
stuff. This is
bonus
awesome.
Healing is going to be 50.
So ignore barriers
so you are going
being
to be able to like actually
canceled
get through
energy.
right there on your healing.
So it goes
So
through
you mentioned kind of Zenyatta too,
barriers
as like a
and it's a
sort of
beam.
comparison on how his ability
25 per
restorative
second.
stream works. Can you only put
Oh,
that
I'm still reading
one
it.
ally at a time?
Yes. So you have to make your choice on who is going to be that one target can. And if you also want to
That's so
push
cool
your
that they
healing
have
on
that
someone
feature
when you're
now.
holding it down,
Well,
that will
we'll be
move
having
your
that
restorative
feature in
stream as
season
well.
18.
So you do have to make a choice. You are limited in the number of allies that you can heal at a time, unless you're going to move on to the Guardian Wave.
Yeah, and that empowerment, it's not that that's like a beam that's attaching to a character that doesn't have, the passive ring. It is empowering the ring itself.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha. I see. So you can empower it, leave it alone, and it'll last for a little while.
Yeah.
They get,
until they lose line of sight, was like
Line
about
of
5
sight.
seconds
Yeah.
or something. So
Figured
there's like
it
a
much,
LS
yeah.
check there, similar to Zen in that way.
Gotcha. Well, how about his next abilities?
Yeah, so while there might be a little light on the passive healing there,
I
there
do
is
find it
one
interesting
big
that,
healing moment. This is going to be Guardian.
His aura is a
So
lot
it's gonna be
more
your E
obvious
here.
to see when he's healing
We'll
someone
start with
versus
the healing aspect
Zenyatta's.
of it.
Like if you're an
So you
enemy
press
and you
E,
get
and
discorded,
this
you know you got
Wuyang
discorded, like it's
takes the
pretty
staff,
obvious.
slams into the ground, and this big wave comes out. So it provides healing, but then also the big thing it does, it gives a healing
They were
boost.
showing another
So
ability.
it actually lasts for 4 seconds. It's
So
gonna be quite a big,
that's a heal ability,
thing
but
you
it's
can do
also
there
a
with
damage
your allies.
ability with the wave.
Because you can kind of combine that. You use the Guardian Wave, then you use your resource, and at that point, you're really getting like your
Yeah.
tank that's in danger actually back up to a good, healthy, healthful level.
But yeah, Zenyatta,
That's
if you
really
have
like
that
your
orb on a
oh no,
teammate,
we're in
it's hard to
danger
tell
mode.
that the
Of
enemy
like
has an orb
my tank's
sometimes
getting really
because of,
low,
like,
my
it's such
allies need a
small
lot of
thing.
healing. You're looking to drop
So
that
it makes
within
me
your
think they're gonna
allies, giving
change
that
something
healing
with,
amp, sort of amplify the
Zenyatta
rest of
as
the
well,
healing
but I
that you're
don't
going
know.
to do. And I think that's really like embodies a lot of what is the rest of his abilities do. Very reactive of like, hey, I'm using my primary fire, but this is the thing that I'm going to use when I want to heal my allies a lot. But this also does other things as well. When you use it against an
Oh,
enemy,
I didn't
it's
even
actually
think
going
about
to
that.
do
It goes
damage
through
and
the
knock them back
environment.
based on the distance they are from you. So the wave is more powerful the closer they are to you,
Okay.
and then it will knock them back more depending on that as well. So this ability can heal allies, but it can also be your defensive tool to
Right.
push people away, to do a little bit of damage, sort of
Little
give you that
knockback
get
back
off me
there,
button.
okay.
And-
Oh,
and
it
there's
also heals
one thing
himself. I
that's,
didn't
like,
notice that.
Well,
It heals
similar
himself
to
too
on a
when he
little bit
uses it.
different. When Wuyang uses Guardian Wave, it actually gives him the heal boost. He
Yep.
doesn't have to like look down to do it. It just heals him and gives him that heal boost
It is
right
right.
at his feet, because that's what he's slamming down right at his feet, right?
So that's the please heal me other support.
Yeah.
as well.
Please heal me
That's the
other
only healing tool
support.
he has for himself.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's going to give him that healing amp. It does, I think, 75 healing. Don't test my knowledge on that, but
Oh,
it's
we can look at that.
yeah, we can look at it on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Let's look
F1
at it.
screen. I
Thanks
think
to
it
Gavin
does
Winter,
75
we can check it out, yeah.
healing, which is a good chunk of healing, but
Yeah.
it's sometimes not going to save you from the danger. That
80
you're in.
healing.
So it's a great
50
healing
plus
device.
We buffed it.
healing
It's 80
received
now.
for
80.
4 seconds.
A little free out of for out of jail card.
I'm going to lose a trivia.
It does
Yeah.
80 damage at base,
So that would
40
be
at
one of
the,
the ways
at
that
the
you could
range.
get out of
Minimum
danger
fall off
if
is
you are,
17.5. That's
really
the
deep in
furthest.
enemy lines. What about the shift, rushing torrent?
Yeah. So Wuyang, isn't necessarily like a super mobile hero, but I would say he is fairly well-rounded, and he does have a mobility skill here. This is rushing torrent.
Yeah, I think having a mobility skill is
and
nice.
you're going to be on this
You go in the
wave, so
water,
it gives you
yeah.
movement speed,
So it
and
gives you
also
a jump?
increases your jump height. By the way.
Okay.
One of the things we were looking for when developing this hero was, hey, what are the things thematically that have to come across? And I think Guardian Wave was one of those first things. Was like, all right, there needs to be a giant wave that gets sent out to your team that helps them.
Small wave.
And then also, well, you kind of need to surf on a wave too, right? So rushing torrent is this thing that's going to help you reposition, get you in different places on the battlefield, and also help you escape from enemies. You know, it's on a longer cooldown than, say, some of our more mobile heroes. You know, you can see there, it's like a 7-second cooldown.
Yeah,
so it's going to help you, but it's not going to be, you're not going to be as flighty as Juno or Lucio or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Juno's does
especially
damage.
because it's only giving you movement speed. Like, you have the ability to push
Yeah, it
enemies
doesn't look like
away,
it
you
does
can
damage.
run away, but
Oh,
after
it
those
pushes
cooldowns
people
are
away.
used, you don't really have a lot of options in your arsenal. So that's why another reason why Wuyang is playing in that mid-range. You can't be too
And I
close to
don't
enemies
think
'cause
that
they'll just
heals,
run you
right?
down.
Yeah,
So
just
that
movement
is
speed.
one of the weaknesses.
50%
that Wuyang
movement
does have,
speed.
pumping out a lot of damage,
for
a lot
4
of healing.
seconds.
But if you get in his face, it's going to be very difficult to play.
But
so
if you use
rushing
one of the
torrent is
perks,
very
it
useful
can
as a
heal
tool,
you.
but it's not going to be as potent as some of the things like Kiriko teleport as well.
Yeah, so when designing these kinds of heroes that have movement but not too much, but they're also not completely immobile, like Ana or Zenyatta, which we've, you compared some of his abilities to, how do you get to that like sweet spot of having him be pretty strong mid-range, also like being able to get out of danger but also not be completely uncatchable?
I think that's like, it's a never-ending, balance cycle of like, what does every hero need, right? When you talk about Ana and Zenyatta, they have very high utility things in their kit. We have Ana Sleep Dart, we have the Biotic Grenade, Zenyatta has Discord Orb, which is just a very strong damage ability in the game. So that is their strength, so they need to have the limitation of, they don't have that mobility, there is that weakness.
Exactly.
Wuyang doesn't really have a huge amount of utility in his kit that's going to always change the tide of battle with, CC or, putting in this anti-heal. He's going to more be a Swiss Army knife of, he has a lot of tools to help things and do a lot of things, but he's not going to have this win more, button that's just going to sort of have this big impact on the battlefield at all times. It's more about the consistent damage and throughput that he's going to do.
I think his ult is really strong.
It's really going to be the differentiator.
But you can only target on one person or yourself.
And then some of the things like Guardian Wave, using that at the right time. But I would say like learning that primary fire skill is going to be a thing
instead of giving the reduction
So the
in
last
damage,
technical part of his kit is his ult. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, Tidal Blast is a fun one. So when we're developing support ults, we want to make sure that there's always, you're hopefully doing something for your team in some way. So, but this one's a little different because we are
that means Beyblade would be back
so you
with
press Q,
Reaper as well.
and you're actually going to get 2 prompts here. You're going to be able to use this ability on an ally or use it on yourself. We'll start with the ally one. So if we turn around, we'll use on one of the bots behind you, or one of these guys. And what it's going to do, you place on an ally, they're going to get a big chunk of overhealth.
Okay.
They're going to get movement speed, and then this
movement speed.
This little bubble.
And then it heals
around,
afterwards,
right?
by the way.
So what that does, it's actually like this water bomb. After
I want them to show the
it's actually
stats.
going to detonate and explode, deal damage, and knock down any enemies that are nearby you.
Yeah.
So,
So it's like a Malga
your Genji is
stomp.
about to go in, or someone's going to dive in, like a Tracer with this is really
Or
scary.
Reinhardt just charging in.
Reinhardt could also charge right in.
2v5.
And at the end of it too, there's a big health gain for the ally that has it. So there's a big
health,
healing
and then it heals
when the
afterwards.
explosion happens. So yeah, if your tank's in trouble, they can use this, and they're gonna.
And I think it would also heal other allies that go on it. So like.
I just think it's like a great.
Which logically would make sense.
Like similar to Nano Boost in the same vein, where it's like, oh, I can really use this on the allies, make some plays, and feel really, collaborative.
Yeah, I think Nano Boost is a great place to sort of like, if you're trying to understand what this ultimate is trying to do, it can be that proactive thing where, it has that CC component that, at the end, which is different, but it can also be used very well reactively. It's like my tank's getting low.
It feels like a weaker Nano Boost.
You can put that on
but it
your
has
ally.
the speed
It's going
boost.
to give them that overhealth. It's going to give them that healing.
And the knockdown.
And anyone who gets in their face is going to get knocked down as well.
See, and the knockdown is basically as long as a Malga one too. So it's not as long as the Shatter, which is good.
You can also use it on yourself. There is a slight difference when using it on yourself.
It's
there is a
less on
cast
yourself,
time.
right?
So you need to be careful. You can't just 100% give yourself full overhealth and all these things. You need to use it at the right time, because you can Ajax or you can lose the ultimate if you use it at the wrong time. But as you can imagine, people probably use it on themselves more than they really should. I am one of those people, because it gives you that opportunity.
It looks
to
like the
protect
radius
yourself,
is bigger
play
on
aggressive,
yourself than
run people
teammates.
down, sort of put the whole ultimate in
At
your
least that's how it
This is
shows the
personally how I use it all the
animation.
time. If I see like Kyle in the back line, I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm just
Run
going to
Kyle
use this.
down,
I'm going
yeah.
to use Rushing Torrent. We're going to get in there as fast as we can, try to get the one kill, right? But it's also one of those things like if you're in a 1v1 and you're kind of like really in trouble.
Right,
but
it's like an
they
extra
can't DPS
ability
you
in
down
this
fast
sense.
enough, you can use this, bring it back, and really like turn the tide.
Yeah.
Right?
So super quick before
That's
continuing.
practically like 2.5 more health
We
is
have
what
a
you're
question in
getting.
chat. Is the surf only for forward movement, or can you go backwards?
You can go backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go all directions. Don't think of it as it's not pushing you forward at all times. It's more you have movement speed to go in whichever direction.
You can also just stay still. You can,
Yeah.
like,
You
use the
can just
ability
hang
to-
out on the little wave if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want.
just kind of
Yes.
hang out.
Yeah.
It looks very cool in third person.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it's
I think
sick.
one of my favorite
I mean,
things.
it looks pretty
of
cool
Wuyang
in
is just
first person too.
his animation, honestly.
Yeah.
Shout out the animation team. So going back to the ult.
I
So
wanna
you
see the ult
cast it
stats,
on
what are
either
they?
yourself or on an ally, and they gain overhealth. Could an enemy team, drain the overhealth before the ult goes off?
Oh,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, they can just kill you, and then the ult dies. It fizzles at that
Yeah.
point. But it's not this barrier you're trying to break. You actually just have to kill that
Yeah.
hero.
Yeah, they're CCable. You can do everything
You
to
can CC
them,
them.
and they don't have, it's not like a traditional Zarya bubble or anything like that. It is just the player has a ton of overhealth, and this effect is going to happen at the end.
Gotcha. Also, by the way, 30 minutes into trial.
Oh,
gotta-
kill countdown.
So-
we have going on.
We
This
got
could
a
be
little
you.
countdown going on. Yeah, this could be you.
I
in
am
30
looking
minutes.
out for those places.
This could be
I'm
you
really
in
excited
30
to see,
minutes.
it's one of those things where we've been developing the primary fire for so long, and it's gonna be exciting to see how players actually.
Oh, so it
how
took them a long time to do primary
acclimate.
fire.
It's always quicker than we expect because you all are so good at the game.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see just like how long it takes to make some of those plays.
I think they might buff them straight up.
Things like that. Yeah.
That is where some of the most fun is, where
And maybe
you're
nerf,
just
like, the-
aiming this person down, you
the
hit that
movement
long
speed,
range shot.
but
the
we'll
one
find
person
out.
with
I mean, they have a
150,
cap movement
person in
speed.
the air. There's so many different things that you have to do with this primary fire, and it's just so dynamic throughout the entire match.
Like in
And
the
that's-
trailer.
Yeah, like in the trailer, right?
No,
Like-
you can do that a lot. Like,
Yeah,
it's good
yeah.
It's
this
hard,
is
but
also-
you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
but,
go look at the
going to
Beyblade
the opposite
meta
side of
with
that,
Ana
one of the things
and
about
Reaper,
Wuyang that makes him
the
difficult
movement
is
speed
if
was
you aren't
really
hitting
strong
those
back
shots,
then.
That's where most
One,
of your damage is
because,
coming through. So there is this huge skill factor.
well,
that comes
mainly
with
it
Wuyang
wa- they
that
never
if you're
healed
trying to
when
hit
you
these
did
shots
initially,
and
but,
you're not pumping out damage,
it was
you're not doing
because
a ton of
the
healing. So
reduced
it's like,
damage.
this is
I
where
think it
the
was
skill
50%
and that's what's
reduced
gonna
damage
separate
to
the great
yourself,
Wuyongs
so you had
from the ones
resistance.
who are just running around ulting
And the
themselves.
movement speed,
So we got another
so
question
you were
about the
pretty
ult.
much unkillable.
Does the ultimate go through shields, and does the end of the ult heal nearby allies?
It's just the user.
Yeah, I think it's just the user.
Oh, it just heals
I
the
know we've
user.
gone back and forth on this a bunch of times.
It should heal
we'll
everyone
find out if it
around
goes through
it
shields
in
at this
there.
point. I would believe it
does
does
not.
No,
Yeah. It doesn't go
ship
through
barriers
shields.
generally are blocking of all those kind of.
Okay,
aspects.
that's good.
Cool.
But I feel
So,
like it should heal
we'll-
your
we'll be
allies if you're
seeing
in that
how
radius.
matchups
That makes
with
sense.
enemy or
When it
ally
goes off.
Wuyang go along. But as what you guys have seen so
Yeah,
far,
but with
what
this,
would you say are like
ult,
good matchups?
it's
for
only
this hero
overhealth
specifically, like
and the
supports
speed
or
boost.
tanks
There's
or
no
whatever, or
actual like
I think
resistance.
since where you kind of want to position
It's a
yourself,
lot
you're
easier
gonna
to
be playing,
punish.
like, with your other support a lot, so they can
Let's
kind
see,
of keep each other.
400,
You're not necessarily going to be
250
diving
healing,
that much,
100
so,
damage.
20
to
or
50
you can
movement
even
speed
up,
max.
Ana, and then you can actually
then
actually
1.5
cycle some
duration,
of your
yeah.
healing amp, which is can be really powerful if you do it correctly. So I think some
Sounds
of
like
the
Nor
supports,
barrier.
like Ana plays pretty well with Wuyang, maybe even Bav sometimes.
Yeah, I think though. Wuyang does a great job at protecting another support, so in those kind of situations, you could play it as like a pseudo brig kind of setup where it's like you're able to protect someone, but you can do more damage from range.
With
It's-
Zenyatta?
With Zenyatta, you get, like in
No,
situations
I
where
think
you
this
can
and
help your
Zenyatta would be
allies, but you can
weird.
also do things from the mid range. As we said, I don't think you're going to play Wuyang too much in dive. Like I think it's going to be the game's going to move too fast for him. It's going to be difficult for him to keep up. So in those situations where you can play those Baptiste, Zenyatta's, Anas, I expect him to be there as well.
Yeah. We got another quick question about the primary fire. I think it's like a very big highlight of his whole kit. Can you whip primary fire around corners? LOL.
Yeah, of course.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
This is how you're going to spend your first 3 games. You just sort of throwing it around.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
just
much.
the way it is.
Yeah,
How
just
far
learn
can it
learn
go?
about
Can you
it.
just go like
There,
infinitely until
there's eventual that'll eventually like kick out after a certain time, but it's pretty far. It's far enough. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
It'll
lasts
keep
a good
going
amount of
once you
time.
it gets to
But
that
you'll
point.
lose control.
But you'll lose control, and it's probably for the best. You should probably start shooting it.
Yeah. If it gets far enough, you should just let it go and whip up another one. If
Yeah.
it does.
100%.
For sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
smart.
so that's Leon's kit. I think he he's kind of a great example of like an Overwatch 2 support is, where they have a lot of options. They're fairly dynamic. You have to go on the offense, go on the defense a lot, and kind of switch up between that and understand what sort of
Yeah, I think
role
this
you're playing at
character
that
is
moment in
very
time.
pioneering
Are
in
you someone that
Overwatch
needs to
because
just
of how
continue to pressure, or
technical
are you
they
someone
had to
that at
get
that
to be
moment
able
in
to
time needs
create
to kind
them.
of like help your team? So
I always feel like
I'm
they're
really
going to be
excited for this era.
underpowered.
I'm a support player myself. This area does so much. There's so many opportunities to make big plays. So I'm really excited for
They might-
everyone else to also get that.
Yeah, I
buff
mean,
the
getting
resource
to
meter
this
too.
point was a long journey, and I think we would love to talk about a little
And buff
about
his
his
normal
prototype
healing
and how it
output.
was from the very beginning.
yeah, so when we started on this hero, I mean, sometime last year, I think it was in the spring of last year.
Yeah, because they showed
Even
off.
before you were on the team.
Yeah, this
guys.
was before me.
They showed off
Yeah,
some
so
development of him
there's
during
just a long development cycle, and we want
Spotlight.
to sort of step through each ability
So,
and sort of take you through some of the
This is
journey.
the last hero from Spotlight that we've
Let's start with
seen.
the primary fire here. One of the things that I think our first, even before
I
this
love the
edition
Moira.
we're seeing here, one of our very first editions we did, iterations, was you could fire the primary fire and it would go to wherever your cursor is. So
Yeah.
it could go past the Reinhardt, come back, and then hit
Oh
him in
my
the back.
God, yeah.
If Farah was in the air, it would just keep tracking her until it got to her, right?
Okay.
And on the enemy side, that was really hard to understand, where the same would go by you, then would circle back and hit you in the back of the head, right? It was much more understandable if it's like it has more of a continuous motion, right?
Right.
And then we tried some more stuff. So you can see this one we're
That's
looking
kinda
at
how,
now.
like, the
I can also
Cascade
see like we
worked
use
when
the
they
Moira,
first reworked
you
it.
know, with a staff and everything.
Yeah,
I think that was the
very, very
Moira
tough things
with,
we had
like,
here. But you were sort of like
mercy
controlling these
staff is
orbs,
what
and
they're
then you would
using here, which
release
is
it, and
funny.
it would travel wherever you're pointing, and it would
placeholder,
go a little
though.
bit fast. It was just a little hard to actually track enemies this way. It was also hard on the enemy side to understand sometimes where it was coming, and this took a lot of time to get right. So this
Yeah.
one in particular was just hard to understand and hard to actually hit with, hard to execute with. It was one of those things where we really want to make sure, as I said earlier, like the enemies kind of understand what's happening here. So we backed away from this one, and we went with something that was a bit more continuous than what you see today, where it's more this continuous motion, this continuous flow, and you actually have a lot more like skill in that too, I would say. So, but there's some fun iterations along the way to get this one right. I think there was, it wasn't only 3, there was plenty.
Yeah.
We did quite a lot, and we wanted to do a lot more of the orb too at early on. So I think there's another ability we have in here that we were. Oh, this is a restorative stream actually. Yeah. So with restorative stream, some of the things we knew early on was we wanted
did
you
it have
to
like
make
a-
sure that you were
A cooldown or
whatever
something?
healing we gave Wuyang, it was something that he didn't have to do all the time. We tried some things that didn't necessarily work out. This is one version we had here where you would actually charge up the ring and then place the ring on somebody.
That's the way.
And what that ended up what it ended up doing was there was a lot of plate spinning. So you thought you were actually like using the healing too much, and you're too much in this mode, and we wanted you to be in the primary
Yeah,
fire mode most of the time. We even
that's
tried an
kinda
iteration
interesting.
of this that was more like it would only use the healing when the character needed it, but you still felt you always had to top them off. And it was like one of those things, even like when you're running from spawn in the beginning, you had to like charge up this thing even though you're not even in combat yet, and it felt a little odd. But this is like sort of what we were playing with. We were playing
Yeah.
with different models of, okay, what can we do for a healing where he doesn't have to actually focus on it the whole time? There's one, actually, it became a perk.
I think they
what
used
we
the
were talking
May
about
Ice
where you could damage
for
enemies
that
and would just heal
animation
whoever
with
had
the
your like
water at
passive
first,
aura.
because
We
they
tried
already
some
figured
aura
out
healing
that they
too.
wanted to do that.
But that ends up, it's really hard to understand that you
Yeah.
are healing somebody. It's hard to make that connection.
Absolutely.
making
This is
you feel
definitely
like
way
a
too
support.
confusing. I
Yeah,
agree.
that's like the biggest thing is like sometimes a lot of these abilities.
But that's
as much
how
as they can
development
be,
is, like, they
feel
have
really
to-
cool. They can just feel really invisible, and when you're playing in the game,
have
you
to
just don't
test these
feel like
things
you're
out.
having that impact. And if you're the person being healed, you don't know where that healing is coming from as well. So trying to make it a little bit
Right.
more deliberate.
Yeah, there was a theme throughout Wuyang's development was it started very, very damage oriented, and then it's like, okay, crawl back to support, crawl back to support. How can we make you still feel like you have like a lot of potency in your damage, but make you feel like you're playing a support?
Yeah, I think at one point during early development, his staff had like extra reach with melee and had extra damage,
Yeah.
and you could get crazy DPS with Wuyang, like very little healing from some players. I'm not gonna name names, but very little healing from some players early on, but a lot of DPS, maybe sometimes even more than the actual DPS.
Yeah.
So it's great to
Interesting.
see kind of like the balance that you can achieve with someone that can still hold its own, and whose part of the highlights of his kit is the primary fire, but also can dish out a lot of healing.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but I remember we had an early play test, and we had Dante come in, and he played it, and he played backline Wuyang. He was running around in the backline. He was just eliminating people one by one. He was kind of playing like DPS Moira. So there have been iterations where Wuyang was a lot more potent.
I see.
Yeah. And I wonder what the next video is here. But yeah, there's just a lot of iteration. Okay, here you see there's like Guardian Wave and Rushing Torrent. We're actually like really early abilities. You'll see an early version of the wave right there. It's like,
that looked
we
like
knew we had to get this in the kit immediately. There's a little thing that's
I see
different
it.
there that we were playing with.
So this was the main
well, you'll see it when you hit
animation
the
that you see
There's
with
this
her.
effect actually that happened on
where
the
you
wave
see
at one
with
point
him
where it would take down
using the
max
water,
health from
and then
enemies. We wanted to do something that was very
Venture's,
offensive, but also defensive.
ultimate
But
is
it
the
was
other
very hard to get
animation
the
for the
concept
wave
of
currently.
evil water across. It was like, what does the water look like?
Poison water.
Is it
whatever,
charged
right,
with something? And that's actually, this is one sort of effect that we've been trying to sort of find its correct place in the game. So it might be something we explore later. But yeah, evil Guardian Wave at one point would hit enemies and take away their max health for a little time.
I think for the best that one's not in there. But like you can also see like some of the other abilities coming here. Like this is the early iterations of the rushing torrent. As you can see, like obviously big effects coming on your screen. This is giving you the mobility. So this one's been in development for a while. These two, they look somewhat similar to what they are now.
Yeah, you could jump a lot
They
higher.
use them as really good
Like
placeholders.
surgery
Like this
jump
was
at
very
one
smart
point.
to start out with.
But at that point it was like, are we really making it feel like you're riding this wave, or is it more of like you're getting this geyser of water that comes up underneath you and puts you up into the air? But the thing we wanted to sell was that you're surfing, right? And so we really went with that in particular. And I think the mobility was a little bit too much at some point with that giant jump.
We've got a quick question in chat. Can enemies shoot the water balls out of the sky before it hits?
No, they can't.
I didn't think so.
Intangible
Aim
water.
trainer as you're just shooting out the balls.
Also, Scott, there's some people in chat that say, I love you. So.
Oh, thank you.
And Mr. Apply, allegedly.
Apply, my favorite.
Yeah, I think we can continue, checking out the early prototypes of other abilities if we have some more.
Yeah, so this one's one of my favorites. We call this ability the shower. So as we were talking earlier, we wanted to do some more things with the orb at a certain point in development. So you'd put out the orb, and then you'd actually press right click, and it would rise up and do this AoE healing and damage field. Like water was coming down, it was healing and damage. Because we were still exploring this like this evil water kind of concept.
That seems
really,
kind of broken.
taking hits.
Yeah, it was like there's a lot more elemental themes that were going in there too. At one point it wasn't just purely water, so we were exploring some different themes there. But I loved this ability because it really allowed him to have like this presence in the battlefield, and it allowed him to like really make his claim of like creating space as a support, which is a little bit different than what some of our supports do. But it was very difficult to understand the depth perception on this in particular. Like you press right click and you would have to know exactly where it's going to come up, and so we had to make the area super large. And at that point, it became a very noisy ability too.
Right. Yeah.
And
that
it leaned a lot more into DPS than it did healing.
I was gonna say I don't see that cloud over a lot of allies right now. I see it over a lot of
it's Aaron Keller running through the small corridor, getting hit by it.
If you see an opportunity, you just take it.
It is a cool thing. I like the idea of how it you could change the way you use primary fire, instead of just throwing it at
I think it's a smart idea, but
to put it in a position to drop something else.
definitely doesn't
I
belong
would
in a
not
game
be
like
surprised
Overwatch, at
if
least
this
in
comes back
that
as a perk
form.
in the future or something along those lines, because this is something that we would like to explore more. But
Yeah.
maybe down the road when people get used to Wuyang and kind of understand him as a hero overall. So you can see there's a bit more healing in that one. That was
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
a
was
little
nice.
more
Nice
healing.
defensive rain.
yes.
So even from prototype, we can see a lot of stuff that did make it into the final cut. During development, how do you decide what to keep and what not to keep?
It's really about like who the hero is, what is the play style overall, and how did every single piece of their kit support that play style, right? I think one thing in particular with Wuyang is we needed to make sure he still trended towards support, right? We need to make sure that, yes, you're going to be playing this primary fire all the time, and what are the things that are going to support that aspect and that loop, but also this isn't a DPS, so how do you have the elements where you feel like you're really helping your team, getting them back up and making sure that they feel your effect too? They feel that you're actually helping them.
Yeah, and I think that's really where Wuyang gets in these setups, very similar to the way Zenyatta plays. The way I see Zenyatta play is like, hey, you're putting your orbs out, you're trying to control the battlefield, help your allies, but then outside of that, you're positioning, you're doing damage. So I think that's where Wuyang is really finding the spot. This is a crazy one. I remember you telling me.
So this is one of the
Oh my
ultimate
God, that one.
iterations. As I said, we were playing it for more of an elemental broad theme, so it was like maybe there's lightning in this kit too, right? So one of the things we were doing here, you put these little clouds over all your allies, it would heal them. But then whenever you primary fired, it would shoot lightning from these clouds to a target. And so you can imagine if everyone's kind of stacked up, there's just 5 lightning bolts that are coming, and you can shoot this really fast too. Look
Yeah.
at the damage.
That's interesting.
It was like 50 from
Traces
each or
are in
something.
trouble everywhere.
or something like that. Very fun.
Yeah.
Very, very fun
Right.
ultimate. So
I think it's a
don't be
great
surprised
idea.
if down
Not
the
with
road
this
if
hero,
there's
though.
some
Maybe
game
like a
this,
DPS
but
hero
maybe
in the
not as
future.
support.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
as a support. You guys put healing on the clouds. It's like, see, it's kind of supporting as you delete the opposition.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very cool though. It was very cool, like ability. But in practice, it was crazy. Especially one on each team, right? A lot of times we're kind of like we're playing a Wuyang on each team just so everyone's getting a feel of the character, and you were just like, whoa, lightning time!
Yeah.
It all kind of like
Yeah,
come out.
suddenly, huge explosion.
Yeah.
Were there any other iterations of the ult?
Actually, there were a few. We went on this one like fairly in a good place in development, but there was one we were really interested in. But it's very difficult to do, and something might come later on. But there was sort of this mirage wall at one point where you sort of put this wall of water. That was the idea, and
Oh, like Catalyst from
allies were
Apex.
invisible behind it. Like enemies couldn't see
Oh.
past it, but you
Yeah.
could see through it and actually see the enemies. So it was sort of like, because every time
Interesting.
we approach ults, we want to make sure we at least explore and iterate through ultimates that don't just kill people or don't just keep everyone alive. I think it's really important.
Right,
to
it's a really good
have
experiment to
ultimates
see
that make
what
you think
sticks and what
differently about the
doesn't.
game. Sometimes ultimates will end up in that place, right? And that was one was like, oh, this is something that's going to be very unique. But I think what Wuyang, where he ended up and what actually benefits his kit is something that was more like a setup rather than this sort of like passive thing that allies might benefit from.
By the way, hero trial, 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
15 minutes.
15
Soon,
minutes.
TM.
Yeah.
Yeah, soon TM.
No, I think overall though, Wuyang's journey to becoming a hero in Overwatch was one I thought the team did just an exceptional job on. There's a lot of like new tech that went into the water shader and getting all of that right. As you said earlier, the sounds, the animations, that all
Yeah,
kind
a lot
of
of
comes together.
These
and
characters
creates a really
came around
compelling
full
experience.
circle, honestly.
And
A lot
I
of
think
great
his
changes.
kit is one of the most unique ones we've done so far in terms of like, where is that mastery going to come
definitely
from?
agree.
And if you learn that primary fire, you're going to be well off.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm excited for people getting this hero. The limitations of this hero are endless of what you're going to be able to do. So.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what people do with it. Even like with every single new hero that we've, released, people immediately have some crazy tech with it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing like Wuyang's jumping from the rooftops or doing some crazy things with that. So very, very exciting stuff.